Hi everybody. Today I wanted to cover two topics. One is why directors should be editors, and the other is why scriptwriters should be producers. Now, obviously, when it comes to big budget productions, that's not ideal. You're working with a larger team. But what I'm talking about is when you're starting, when you're an independent filmmaker. It's ideal if you have those skill sets. Now, when it comes to directing and editing, this is something that has been reiterated by Robert Rodriguez and Kevin Smith, two of inarguably one of the most popular and well-known independent directors that I can think of. Now, the reason why editing is so important for directors to understand is because when a director goes on the floor, a director is usually working from a bunch of lists, a list of the visuals that he has to get, the shots he has to get through on the day. It's called a shot list, and he's working from the script, which is great. But if the director is also the editor, then they can understand while they're in the field, while they're shooting their production, what they should be trying to look for. And in their head, they're already, if they're a good director and they're an editor, they will start to think, they'll start to tick things off, cross things off on their lists, like, okay, I want this shot with these two characters. And then if they're an editor, they'll understand that they'll need a filling angle to cover, say, a gap in the dialogue, or maybe they have a scene where it's quite difficult for the actors to get through a piece of dialogue, and they know they're going to have to cover it from a different angle because they're not going to be able to get it in one take. So, or maybe naturally in the dialogue they know that they're going to be bouncing between two characters, and they're going to want a covering shot on one character and a covering shot on another, and then a two shot so that they can bring those two characters together. And this is just really simple filmmaking stuff. I mean, you know, on bigger productions it gets a lot more complicated, and you can get more complicated on a smaller production as well. So if a director is also the editor, then the director will understand really clearly what he needs to get on the day. There's no question. They'll know exactly what they need to get, and in their head they'll already have started editing, and most likely they're going to go home, or not even go home, probably stay on set or go to their trailer, and they'll start editing the daily rushes immediately, and they'll know exactly what they have or what they don't have, which means they can pick it up the next day if they don't have it, or it means that they can confidently wrap that scene and move on to the next scene. So if a director is an editor, it's a huge advantage for that process. Now, when it comes to scriptwriters being producers, it's also quite important, and it's because as a scriptwriter you really aren't thinking about the budget. You're thinking, this is the story, this is how I want to drive the story, and your imagination is the only boundary. So, which is great, except you might end up writing something that's impossible to produce. But if you're also a producer as well, while you're writing, you can be thinking things like, okay, I know that I'm only going to have a limited budget for this. I'm going to have to limit my locations to 3 locations, and I'm going to have to limit my characters, and that can be quite useful as well. If you write and you build in some limitations that you know that you're going to have to cover with the budget, then you already have a head start for producing a workable and producible script. It's a huge advantage. It's a really important skill to have, and it's not that you're going to have to continue to do that for your entire career, but when you're starting, it's really advantageous if you're a scriptwriter, that you should produce your own films, and then after if you're a producer, then maybe you should have a go at scriptwriting as well. Like, there's no reason why you can't cross over skill sets, and it'll help you in the long run if you're producing, if you understand what the scriptwriter has to do in order to get the story arc moving, and if you're a scriptwriter, if you understand, okay, this person's only got $2 to $3 million budget, so those are the limitations I'm going to have when I'm writing the script for them. So when you come to writing, when it comes to writing a spec script, you know you've got a basic understanding of what the budget for that film is going to be before it even starts shooting. And again, that's a really strong advantage. It also means, from the other side of things, like a lot of the time when we're starting out and we're producing, we might not understand so much about the scripting story structure. We might look at a page and just think visually and about the words, and again, same as if you're a producer director, you might not really have a clear understanding of what is useful and what drives the story along, or what's extraneous and what you're not going to have to shoot at all. And it's the same thing, again, it's that same crossover if you're a director editor, that you can go back to your producing and your scripting side of things, and you can understand at the scripting stage what is extraneous, what moves the story along, or what is just dead weight. And if you don't have to shoot that, you're saving so much money. That's a real advantage. So essentially, it's kind of like, if you're going to do everything, you should do those 4 things. You should be the scriptwriter, you should be the producer, and you should be the director, and you should be the editor. If you even at the beginning stage, learn all 4 of those skill sets and apply them to your own filmmaking, you will be a better filmmaker, a better storyteller, an economic storyteller, and that is really important, especially when you're reaching into your own wallet to fund your own productions. So that's basically it. That's why I think that if you're a director, you should also be an editor, and if you're a producer or if you're a writer, you should also be a producer. So subscribe to my blog if you want to hear a little bit more about these kind of things. I think I'm not really saying anything new there. That's something that, like I said, that's something that's been touched on by both Robert Rodriguez and Kevin Smith. But it's really important to know, and I think it will help anybody. Okay, talk to you soon.